this is Greg Kelly. Donate now to Toys for Tots, which works year-round. Go to toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots supports children in need throughout the year with programs like the Toys for Tots Literacy Program. Established in 2008, it has provided over 63 million books to disadvantaged children. The Toys for Tots Literacy Program is committed to providing disadvantaged children with direct access to books and educational resources that enhance their ability to read and communicate effectively. Go to toysfortots.org.
Excuse me! Taxi!
Come on, what are you doing? This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well. Imagine that. A bomb goes off in New York City, laid by ISIS-inspired terrorists, and the mayor points at white supremacy is the problem. White supremacy. If only we could get rid of those white supremacists. White supremacists? Look, there are all kinds of weirdos who have all kinds of protests for weirdo things. That's what you do. You facilitate those protests as long as they're legal and peaceful. And whatever the hell happened outside of City Hall, it was legal and peaceful. You know, it's somebody's right. If you don't want to like Islam, you don't have to like Islam. And if you want to say you don't like Islam out loud outside where the mayor lives, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to be a jerk. All right. You are allowed to do that. You are not forced to be nice in America. I'm totally okay with that. To have good, you got to have bad. To have interesting, you got to have dull. It goes on like that. So, pardon me, the Islamization, if that's what what did they call it? The Islamification of America is a real thing that I think we have to be wary of, right? The idea that Sharia law could supplant the rule of law, that's a dangerous thing. And there are indications that America is succumbing to it. There's also an indication to me, not an indication, it's totally obvious, that they will accuse people of Islamophobia to shut down any and all scrutiny of what the hell some of those folks are really up to. You can't say that. And then Islamophobic. Oh, I don't want to be Islamophobic. I better not say anything. This is how the rape gang started in the UK. All these men from Pakistan were raping girls in the United Kingdom, and nobody really wanted to do anything about it because it was so clearly linked to this society, the society of these Pakistani men. It was something crazy, like 1 in 6, 1 in 5 men from Pakistan in the UK were doing this kind of thing, raping girls. It was in plain sight, and they wouldn't say anything about it. They didn't want to do anything about it, the police, because, well, then again, we don't want to appear. You don't want to appear what? Racially insensitive? How about being sensitive to these young girls? How about Mamdani being sensitive to the safety of everybody? For you to come out and point his finger at white supremacy. White supremacy is the problem when these people just came from, the ISIS handbook. Pennsylvania men, 2 guys from Pennsylvania. Terrorists. You got this? Okay, so you know what happened, right? There was a thing at Gracie Mansion. Bunch of guys came together. I'm not big fans of these guys. I don't know all the details of what they were pushing, what they were saying, what they were doing. But I know that they don't like the Islamification of America. Now, sometimes they do it in a way that I don't think is right. I guess it's legal, but I don't think it's right. And in some places, actually, it's not legal. It's actually not legal. So they would do things like take the Quran out and put hot dogs on it, right? I mean, that's really inciting potentially violence. I'm thinking back in the day, we had a horrible art exhibit at the Brooklyn Museum. And what was that guy's name? Mapplethorpe. Yeah, Robert Mapplethorpe. Robert Mapplethorpe was like an AIDS activist, and he was a photographer, and he liked to stir the pot. And he liked to provoke. And what did he do? He took a crucifix, right, with Jesus on it, and he put it in a beaker. And what was in the beaker? Urine. Human waste. And he called it Piss Christ. Piss Christ. And this was art. Now, I hate that. I totally hate that. If you want to do that in America, I guess you can. I'm also allowed to say I don't like it. and I'm a respectful person, and I got class. Sorta. Might I do something if I saw that picture thrust right in front of me that somebody wouldn't like Mapplethorpe? Probably, maybe, I don't know. Certainly would tell him a few things. Hey, the big controversy with that, not the big controversy right there. Big controversy, you put a crucifix in urine. But also, and I remember Mayor Giuliani, he was great about this. He said it was in the Brooklyn Museum. That's getting money. We support the Brooklyn Museum. So that money, our taxpayer dollars supporting that kind of pornography, quite frankly, blasphemy, really, that's a problem. It's a big problem. And Mayor Giuliani, I believe, fixed that or tried to. And there were protests outside, big time. So you're allowed to be pro-Catholic. You're allowed to be anti-Catholic. You're allowed to be pro-Muslim. You're allowed to be anti-Muslim. These two guys were Islamist extremists, and they threw a bomb that failed to go off because they're stupid. Right? I mean, they're not good terrorists, thank God. But this thing could have worked. And there are nails and metal pieces and little sharp objects, and it could have killed and maimed dozens of people. Fortunately, it didn't go off. Somebody threw it at those guys. Now, it wasn't the white supremacists' fault, and we don't even know if they're white supremacists. I'm pretty sure they're not white supremacists. But it doesn't really matter, and this is the thing. That fake news about white supremacy. You have the top of this. All right, this is Mamdani this morning. Hey, finally he gets around to speaking. There's a terrorist attack on Saturday. Sunday, don't say anything Saturday. Don't say anything Sunday. Let's get our story straight here. I don't know. How do I not lead in a crisis? Well, that's what Mamdani does. Shut up. Stop. Anti-Muslim sentiment is not a thing in New York. He used it as a weapon. He pretended it was a thing. He pretended that there was he called the city that he says he loves so much anti-Muslim, right? To fire up people in mosques, that kind of thing, get them to turn out. I don't think I've never seen anything close to it. This is New York. People are sophisticated here. People are from all over the world. We get it. We're with it. You don't make fun of people based on their religion. That hasn't been happening, but he pretended it did. And that's one of the many reasons why I find this guy so offensive. And one of the many reasons I remain annoyed at Mr. 7% Curtis Sliwa, who frequently speaks with a ignorance that is really shocking and a presumptiveness. But forget him, Mr. 7%. Way to go there. What a disgrace. That came from the heart, Curtis. That came from the heart. Nobody ordered me to do anything. I saw the threat that this guy posed. Granted, I saw it too late. I did. When this guy lied about his aunt and the hijab and making 9/11 all about him and his silly aunt who wasn't even in the country. That's when I saw the deception that I was like, oh, my God. He could really pull it. And I did what I could with what I had to stop him. I know that the person standing right next to Mayor Mamdani was thinking about doing the same thing with what she had, resigning and endorsing Cuomo. It was painful in a way. Cuomo, I still have real grave issues with him. But this is a man who, Cuomo would have come out and condemned the terrorism, not excused it, not looked the other way, literally looking the other way. So he's into the cops did a great job phase, and they did a great job. But he's leaving out something about those guys, right? Now, this is 2 days later. He knows what I know, that ISIS fighters, these are ISIS fighters. Amir Balat, 18 years old, has been seen raising his right index finger. That is a universal salute for the terror group ISIS. Balat wore a black T-shirt and beige pants post, made the gesture before one of the officers flanking him slapped his hand down. ISIS fighters have often used the index finger gesture in their propaganda. The gesture is also used by many Muslims to demonstrate their commitment to monotheism. One religion. There's only one way. Yeah, that's Sharia. Balat and 19-year-old Ibrahim Kayumi, both from Pennsylvania, were set to face federal charges today, Monday. The pair arrested Saturday after allegedly trying to detonate a homemade Mother of Satan bomb during a protest outside New York Zohran Mamdani's house. Hey, why the hell does he get a house anyway? Why can't he live in that same apartment? I mean, let's talk about cutting the budget. Do we really need that thing? He has no kids. Why does he get a mansion? Well, what the hell? How did that happen? A mansion for the mayor? Well, security concerns. So what? You can only provide. I mean, you're like in a house. The mayor lives here. If he lives in some apartment building, who knows where he lives? Right? That's where the mayor lives. Isn't that kind of an obvious, little bit too obvious? Law enforcement sources told the Post that one of the two suspects used the Arabic phrase, Allah Akbar, which means God is great, after their police interview. Balat, whose parents are reportedly from Turkey, but who became naturalized citizens in 2017, grew up in a 4-bed, 2-bath home in the leafy Pennsylvania suburb of Langhorne. The house is worth about $650,000. His alleged sidekick lived in a $2.25 million 6-bedroom home near the New Jersey border. Wow. America has been pretty good to these guys. Agents were seen raiding Balat's home following his arrest as a terror investigation was underway. The two teenagers reportedly made pro-ISIS statements. Pro-ISIS statements all over the place. And you know what they're worried about still at the NYPD? White supremacy. White supremacy. First, Joe Biden started talking about white supremacy. And then Eric Adams started talking about white supremacy. Remember that when he became mayor? Oh, I need my brother to be security because of all the white supremacy. Remember that? He tried to hire his brother to be the security guy because of all the white supremacy he had to worry about. Well, that has a trickle-down effect because the woman who was standing right there at this thing, she's the Deputy Commissioner of Counterterrorism. Her name is Rebecca Weiner. And when she got the job, she said, one of my first priorities is fighting white supremacy. All right, let me hear this. Cut 18, if you don't mind. This is, they're asking the question of Rebecca Weiner, and she's still worried about white supremacy. The Rebecca Weiner is about 4 feet 5 inches tall, and she says everything like this, and everything is a question, even when she's trying to say things like, let's reassure a city, but you can't reassure a city if you don't understand what the problem is. All right, one of my favorites, John McCary, ex-NYPD, joining us momentarily. He has not been afraid to speak out against our phony baloney police commissioner, Jessica Tisch, and all her minions. Be right back.
Listen to this podcast now on the Red Apple Podcast Network. The Leadership Thread with Dr. Peggy Polonis.
I'm Dr. Peggy Polonis. Join me on each episode where I unravel the story that shaped leaders, tracing the thread that led them where they are today. Because leadership isn't born in adulthood. And thank you once again for joining us on the Leadership Thread, education, ethics, and sustainability.
Download all of Red Apple Media's podcasts right now through your favorite podcast platform.